The Vampire Diaries Season 8, Episode 8, We Have History Together. Now this was a pretty good mid-season premiere, I think. We got a couple of cool things happening with, of course, Stefan and Damon having their back and forth, and an odd twist to, like, of course when both of them cut off their humanity, it's kind of like, well, Stefan always loses it, so he's kind of the worst of the two when they both turn off their humanity. And it's really hard to tell where the heck Damon is at this point, because it's almost like he's still like he was in the first half, where technically his humanity had been turned off, and it seems like it still is, but it's almost like he's in this really gray area that they've never explored too much. Like, it's off because he doesn't really give a crap about killing all these people, but he's constantly looking for this necklace. And at first, it was meant to be a gift that helped him remember everything, and it definitely did, because he killed Sybil for half a second. And then in this episode, it's kind of the same thing, where he has to basically grab this necklace and kind of remind himself, like, she's gone, like, whoever I'm seeing that looks like her is not really her. Although, of course, they definitely got an actress that looked a lot like Nina Dobrev in this episode for sure. But I thought it was really cool the way they were doing that, where, they're doing their thing for Cage still. It's like, alright, we get evil people. And of course, Stefan, even from the beginning of the episode, he was kind of losing it. He's like, yeah, we're taking the bad people. And so they pick the actual counselor from the little group that they're in. And, Damon, he gets the guy, and then he turns around, everybody else is dead. And Stefan's like, oh, I'm testing myself, making sure that I can hold back. And it's like, well, he's just killing everybody. He's doing the same thing. He's just not ripping heads off. Like, it's not that big of a difference. From my perspective, he killed everybody. Keeping their heads on or off doesn't really make that big of a difference. He's still murdering every single person in the room. So it wasn't that surprising when it went through the whole episode, and Damon walks into the hospital in the end and everybody's dead. I was like, yeah, shocker. Like, surprise, he failed at it. Like, of course he's gonna become the Ripper again. Like, that's pretty much it. If his humanity is not on, that's what's gonna happen to him. Like, it made perfect sense that it would, and they talked about in the promo that that's where he is now. He's the Ripper without the remorse. So there is no in-between where he's like, oh man, I shouldn't be the Ripper, but he succumbs to it. He's just like, no, I like it, and now I don't care that I like it, so he's just gonna enjoy himself. But I thought that was a good storyline, and the way that it was almost kind of sad a little, the way they kind of played this woman, where they kind of had this bet, and Stefan was just pushing and pushing to basically force her to be really bad, because like he made up the situation that Damon was the one that killed, her parents and stuff like that. It's like, he was just pushing her just to bring out that little bit of evil. And I think he kind of did it for himself, to be like, okay, she had that opportunity or whatever, and she took it. And I kind of feel like that was his turning point, was that he was able to do that to her. So he's like, alright, well, F it. I'll just do it myself too, because I like it. And, she hated it. Like, she had to be pushed. She had to keep saying stuff like, Damon is the one that did it, and he's not worth living, and stuff like that. So he had to push her to do it. So he's like, well, if I could push her to do it, I should just give up on myself. And I feel like that's kind of how it was playing out. But I still thought it was entertaining, even though I figured, I was like, yeah, shocker, he went Ripper again. But the other story I thought was really good too, which we find out that Matt actually has a huge link to Mystic Falls. So, all this time, he's never known that he actually had a family connection to the town, like pretty much every character in the show. And he finds out that within his bloodline, he actually has a connection to basically the Smithers that were within the town, who created the town bell. And of course, it's a magical bell, so he goes through the process of finding out his family history, because his father is tracked down by... His father ends up being tracked down by the guy that Rick left behind, who foolishly decides that he wants to stay in the magical world, although admittedly it's hard to let go, but it's so dangerous with everything that happened. But he wants to take down Celine to get revenge for his friend, so it made a lot of sense. And he tracks down Matt's dad and is like, yep, here's our whole family history. And of course, Matt has a problem with that, where he's like, I grew up thinking I had no connection to this town like the rest of my friends, and I only thought that because you abandoned me and my mom. So he had some very emotional stuff he had to deal with in this episode, and I was actually fine with it. It wasn't too much of the drama. It was just enough, I think, and plus it paired well with Caroline story, because it was basically, it started off as 3 separate stories, and then once the phone call thing happened, it was like, okay, these all actually come together as one big story for the other half of the episode. So I like the way it was all playing out. Sybil's taking over these kids, she's messing with Caroline, and all she wants is this bell. And I would assume, because it's a magical bell that cannot be destroyed, it's actually meant to, I guess, completely obliterate them or something, because we find out that the tuning fork, which has some other way cooler name, is actually a part of the bell. It's like 1/3 of the bell, and it's meant to, basically, it was either meant to like keep the sirens, I don't know, I guess, miles and miles away from the city, or it's meant to just like completely kill them if it's, if somebody rings it and they're, close enough. So it's one or the other, but either way, Sybil goes looking for it, and Caroline pulls out the little letter, and Celine ended up stealing it. At some point, like way ahead of time, she ended up stealing it, and she leaves a little douchey note, like, hey, you looking for something? So this was probably recent, like probably right after Rick let her go. It's like, alright, well, I know what's about to happen next, so I need to get this bell. And we still don't know exactly what's happening with it. I would assume that the ball that Sybil was looking for, that's what this was. That was the bell or the ball for the actual bell. So she has one part. Basically, the good guys have the tuning fork, and then we have our other villain who's kind of off somewhere, safe now. She has the third part of this bell. So, of course, we have two sides who want to keep it for themselves. But I would assume, considering Sybil and Celine aren't exactly on the greatest terms right now, it's going to be a bit more difficult, because they're going to have to find her. She's taken off after Rick lets her go. Rick is gone right now, so I'm curious when he'll end up coming back for, obviously last season, so what episode he'll be returning for. But I like the way they played it out. It's like, okay, they went through all this stuff. Caroline still kind of has to work with Sybil, because she's like, you need to make sure that I'm not connected like she was with Damon. She's like, you better make sure I'm not connected to any of those kids. So of course, there are a million issues with that, so she might have Caroline strung along for maybe an episode or two more. But overall, I really enjoyed this one. I thought it was a good mid-season premiere. Don't know how many episodes are actually supposed to be in this season. I really don't want to know. I hate knowing exactly when a series is going to end. So I'll just let it, do what it's going to do. But I think this was a good mid-season premiere. I think, it was tense enough, the stuff they had with Sybil where she takes all the kids, and Matt and his dad have to rescue everybody, which I thought they had 2 more spikes. I thought they were going to save the kids on the spike they were on, and then the last spike they wouldn't be able to save those kids, but it was like, oh, they saved everybody, and of course it was fine. But I'm excited to see where they take it, because Damon is, I don't know what he's going to do to try to help his brother, but Stefan's going nuts. Damon isn't doing too great himself, because they have the scene in the promo where he's like, Elena, and then Sybil turns around and is like, you need to get a hold of yourself. So he's not doing too great, and he's got Stefan on his side going nuts and killing everybody. Plus, he's trying to mess with him and force him to get rid of the necklace like he did in this episode, but fortunately Damon found it, which, I don't know, it's hard to say how that's going to help him, but I feel like it's going to do something useful for them. But that was a good episode, of course. I'd love to know what you guys thought about this one, so please comment below, let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts, and of course, like I said, I wasn't surprised that Stefan went back to being a Ripper, but I want to know where you guys think it's headed. Like, he has no humanity, no emotions, he doesn't care, he's just having fun with it, but he's doing his job. So I want to know where you guys think that's going to lead for these next couple episodes, because I don't think it's going to last the rest of the season. It probably will, but there are so many different things happening. If they do, if one thing happens in one way, it could totally, bring his humanity back. It could, like, instantly snap him out of this whole, crazy moment. But there are a lot of different ways they can go. Just certain things would have to happen in certain ways. So I want to know where you guys think, Stefan being, the Ripper again, what that's going to lead to for these next couple of episodes. And like I said, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general. So please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.